Hey everybody, with John Walk, Jeff Reinhardt here for LL Sports Update. Another week, a lot going on in LL football. Week 6, we're past the halfway point already in the season. We're flying. Last week, John and I were in Denver for the big Cocalico Manheim Central game. Barons win 17-7 in that big rivalry game. A lot of defense was played. What else did you take away from Manheim's win over Cocalico?
A lot of defense, a lot of running. 7-7 game at halftime, at which point league leading rusher for Manheim Central, Tyler Flick, I think he only had 6 yards at halftime. Coach Hahn goes power game, brings in the big guys, as many big guys as he can in the offensive line, goes 2 tight ends sometimes and just pounds the ball, pounds the rock. Tyler Flick ends up with a touchdown and 100 yards in the second half alone. Manheim Central eventually pulls away for the 17-7 win. Obviously kind of takes a little bit of control of the driver's seat in Section 2. However, there are some big games still left on their schedule, obviously. And speaking of, I guess, coming up in Week 6, both Manheim Central and Cocalico have tough tests this week. Tell us about it.
Oh, yeah, they do. Big time tests. Cocalico, too. We'll definitely keep an eye on Cocalico because for them it's going to be how do they snap back? Because they were so great the first 4 weeks, 3 weeks in particular, scoring a ton of points, and then shut out E-Town, which was big. So I'm anxious to see how Cocalico snaps back. They get Cedar Crest, a team we really haven't talked about much, but they're 5-0. Here's the undefeated. Here's the Falcons. So I guess we'll get a chance here to see if Cedar Crest is for real, dare I say? Well, I mean, we'll see. Their schedule's very back-loaded. I mean, they have Cocalico yet, they have Manheim, they have Solanco, they have LS, they have E-Town. So I think we'll see what Cedar Crest is made of here down the stretch. Anxious to see if Cocalico snaps back. We'll see if Central can keep going. They get kind of a wounded E-Town team. The 3-0 start, the 2 shutouts. Much ballyhooed start for them. They were great, but then they get shut out by Cocalico, and then they lose an OT game against Solanco last week by a point. So E-Town looking for its mojo here at 0-2 in the section. Stiff test with Manheim. We'll see if they can handle Manheim Central's running game. Flick is mentioned, second in the league in rushing. He's been great. Central's O-line, tip of the cap to that crew. They've been awesome. So big games this week. Central, E-Town, Cocalico, Cedar Crest in Section 2. And
another big game, our Week 6 LNP game of the week. Lancaster-Strasburg 4-1 going to Solanco 3-2. Battle of the Milk Jug for the 8th year. It started in 2010. Lancaster-Strasburg won the first 5. Solanco has won the last 2. So they'll be battling out. Jeff, what I want to know, is that thing filled with milk? And if so, does the winning coach get doused in milk after the game is over?
I don't. There's nothing in it. There's nothing in it. I'm pretty sure it's empty, but it's heavy. I got a chance to kind of lift it this week during practice.
So that's a 7:30 kick Friday night. Tell us about it.
7:30 kick, and apparently there's like road construction down 222 to Corryville. So plan accordingly on your trip to Corryville Friday night. Should be fun. A couple of high-powered offenses. Solanco, 1,900 rushing yards, leads the league. Nick Yanitz, the fullback, who's been great the last couple of weeks, he leads the LL in rushing. So we're looking at Solanco's rushing attack, trench play. Their O-line's been terrific up front against an LS team that quick strike, high-octane kind of offense, can score in a hurry, put 61 points up against Ephrata last week. Lone loss is to Manheim Central, led that game at half. So Todd Shelley and crew, Niemeyer, Underwood, those guys can get up and down and score in a hurry. We'll see how Solanco's D handles LS. Solanco's given up the most passing yards in the LL, which is an interesting stat because LS likes to throw a lot. So we'll see which defense can kind of survive each other in that one. Should be fun. We'll be there Friday night, LS at Solanco. Got to go to practice this week. Irene Snyder was there, got a chance to catch up with Coach Cox at Solanco and with Coach Mannion at LS. Here's Irene with those interviews.
Coach, you're halfway through the season. Tell me, how do you feel right now with your team?
We like where we're at. It's identical to where we were a year ago, 4-1. This is a big week. This is huge for section play. You want to stay within one game of the leaders, and win here against a tough team will do that.
And you're playing Solanco on Friday, and right now they're undefeated in their section. So how do you feel about that, and what is your game plan for beating them on Friday?
Stop the run. Easier said than done, but stop the run, get our offense on the field as much as possible, keep their offense off of the field.
This is the so-called milk jug game. How important is it for Solanco to keep the milk jug this year?
It's very important. We had a couple of veterans come back that won it the first year that we won it, and then last year just to tell the kids how important it was for them to see the milk jug in the AD's office when they come to basketball games, wrestling games, just to be able to walk by and see it in the glass. It's just there. So the kids are pretty excited. It's not much motivation that I have to give to the kids all week because they know how important the milk jug is for them. So it's a great thing. It's a great game for us. A lot of people are going to be here Friday night.
Okay, Irene, thank you very much for those interviews. Can't wait. Should be a good game. LS at Solanco on Friday night. One other big game we want to touch on this week up in Section 1. Could be some points in this one. Hempfield against Warwick. What do you like about that game?
Yeah, a pair of 3-2 teams. One side, Hempfield, they played really well the first 3 weeks. Came out of that 2-1 against some very stiff competition. Week 4, 56-0 loss to Manheim Township, which shocked us. Week 5, we were wondering how they would kind of bounce back from that. 16-14 win over an improving Penn Manor team, but we figured, you know, Hempfield might be up there as one of the top teams in Section 1. You figured they would have had a little bit better performance, but hey, maybe Penn Manor is starting to corner too. So it's interesting to see just as far as the progression development of Hempfield. On the other side, Warwick, we saw them lose their starting quarterback, Grayson Klein, in the Week 4 loss to Wilson. In steps junior quarterback Adam Ricketts, and man, it seemed like the Warriors picked up right where they left off. Klein goes down, Ricketts steps in. Last week, Warwick wins 62-28 Lebanon. Ricketts 9 for 15, 201 yards, 3 touchdowns. So it seems like, yeah, Warwick win against a Lebanon team that's struggling, but still, that's the showing that you want to have from your new quarterback if you want to do some things from here on out in the rest of the season.
Definitely. So, is that the third time they've scored 60 points, by the way?
Probably,
Warwick?
I don't know. You would know that better than I would. But, you know, I don't know if these teams are going to be contending for a Section 1 title necessarily. They're both 1-1 in the league standings. However, each need this game if they're going to have a shot at the district playoff. So it's a big game on both sides. Okay, we've talked about high school football in Week 6 coming up for Penn State football. They have a road trip to Northwestern, kind of a I don't know, lazy game, but it's going to be 11 a.m. for the Penn State time, but it's 12 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be 11 a.m., I guess, in Nittany Lions' minds. To chat about that game, LMP's own Mike Gross stopped by. We throw it to Mike now.
Penn State travels to Northwestern on Saturday. It's a noon kickoff out in Evanston, Illinois. The Lions are a 14-point favorite. They are undefeated. They are ranked 4th in the country. And as the national championship picture starts to take shape a little bit, another Big Ten game for Penn State on the road. I'm Mike Gross for LancasterOnline.com.
Okay, Mike, thanks for that. Nits at Northwestern. We'll see if Penn State can keep it going on Saturday. They've been great. Tough test here. But we'll see if the Nittany Lions can stay undefeated. What a story they've been. Okay, 2 more things, football things we want to share with you. Grayson Saladay, Player of the Week, had the monster game last week, 300 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. He was our LMP Player of the Week. John caught up with him at practice the other night. Got a fun video interview with Grayson. Make sure you check that interview out. Also, John working on the feature this week on LL kickers. We've been kind of waiting to do something on the kickers. There's a lot of good kickers in the LL league right now.
It's a very leggy story.
Beautiful. There's some really good kickers right now in the league. So John followed a couple of those guys around this week. Got some fun video. Take a look later in the week for John's story about LL League place kickers. Okay, a lot going on in LL fall sports. Halfway point and even further along here in a lot of sports. John put together some really great notes about what's going on in other LL fall sports.
Right, so high school football entering Week 6. However, fall sports, this next 7 days on the calendar anyway, most of them are heading into what will be the final week of the Lancaster-Lebanon League regular season. There's a lot going on, so let's get into it and break it down. Starting in boys soccer, Hempfield, Ephrata, and Lancaster Mennonite all undefeated in Lancaster-Lebanon League play in sections 1, 2, and 3. So they have a couple tough tests to finish out their seasons there as they look to wrap up section championships. Girls soccer, the top 2 teams in each of sections 1, 2, and 3 will be playing each other, if they haven't already, will be in the next few days in games that will likely decide section crowns there. Field hockey, Penn Manor, Donegal, Annville, Cleona, all sit atop the standings in sections 1, 2, and 3, and they have a few matchups remaining to clinch section titles there. Girls tennis, they're done with their regular season. Earlier this week, Manheim Township won the LL Girls Tennis Team Championship, so congratulations to the Blue Streaks there. And the LL League Girls Individual Tennis Championships are up next to finish out the week. To check out all of this coverage, guys, stay tuned to lancasteronline.com. We will have reporters out to cover all that stuff, so make sure to stay tuned on that.
Okay, one last thing this week, another Glory Days. Thank you for sending these photos in. I know we ask you every week, please go through your scrapbooks and find some stuff, and you guys have really responded, so we have a nice backlog of photos to go through. We do have a Glory Days this week. John, tell us about that one.
Right, so Manheim Central and Elizabethtown are facing each other on the football field this week. I've been sitting on this submission. This would be a good time to pull it out. Thanks to Denny Ank for sending this in. What you guys will be looking at is a picture from 1989, and it is a picture of Manheim Central's Chad Ginder. Here's the story behind this photo. In the district semifinals, Central was losing to E-Town 14-7 late in the game. Ginder throws an interception. As the E-Town player is running back with the ball, he's tackled, fumbles the ball, at which point Ginder picks it up, runs into the end zone for the touchdown. Following the score, Manheim Central successfully converts a 2-point conversion. They go on to win the game 15-14, final score there. Oh, and by the way, Barron's 1989, first year in program history that they go on to compete in the state tournament. Wow. We know now that they do that. It seems like a given every year, but that's when it happened almost 30 years ago. So thanks to Denny Ank for sending that photo.
I think that's when the term Manheim Magic might have been born.
Yeah,
right there. It might have been it.
I was born 2 years prior to that. I was only 2 years old when that happened. Not to date any of you guys out there. Okay, week 6 high school football coming up, and a lot of big games and other fall sports. For Jeff Reinhardt, I'm John Walk. Thanks to you guys for watching. We'll catch you next week.